Let's go. Let's go. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. If you are joining us on the Twitter, on the YouTube, we want to give you a shout out. Thanks so much for the support. Welcome to Three Man Rush Podcast. I'm your host, Landon Oliver, here with my two co-hosts, Andrew Scott and Big Jared Holly. What is up, fellas? Week 6 in the books.
It's a little bit easier to get up for the show whenever we got the intro. A little 30 seconds is kind of nice.
I know. Get the groove on.
It's a good little vibing tune for sure.
Jared with a good little vibing tune.
Yeah.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Yeah.
Hello. My button-down shirt on, everything else. So.
Yeah, you shaved the gray beard too a little bit.
I did, man. I did.
You got a little bit of a dirty stash, though. I don't know if it's the shadow or not. You got a little mustache, though. So.
Oh, yeah. I kept the mustache. It's Top Gun season.
It's Top Gun season. Hey, that's something we need to talk about. The season changed, so the weather's changing. Football weather's nice. That's what we're gonna call it, though, because the girls get the summer. It's hot girl summer. Look, it's fat boy fall, baby. It's time for hoodies. It's time. All that barbecue I've been eating, all that beer we've been drinking for the season. You can't even see it, baby. Fat boy fall right here.
I love hoodies, man. Cover up everything.
It feels so cool. Bro, I'm pretty sure I've slept in this fucking thing for like 3 days in a row now.
Yeah.
Like I go to bed with it on.
I wear it, bro. Whenever I was getting my college education, my wife and son came up to the campus one day, and she had brought my son inside to use the bathroom while I was in class, and one of it was either one of my teachers or one of my classmates that majored in the same thing I majored in saw him in the hallway. Me and my son, we've always resembled each other, but at that point we were like mirror images of each other. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, you must be the wife of the red hoodie guy."
Red hoodie guy.
That was my nicknames. I got like 5 Cardinals hoodies that I would just keep in rotation. All of them were red. They all look pretty similar to this. And I got a couple other hoodies outside of that, but I got like 5 Cardinals hoodies.
I got the Ralph Lauren. I get one for Christmas every year from Emily's dad and her family. They give me a new one every year. So I got a red one. I got a blue.
Should have worn my FanDuel hoodie just to fit.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to wear it this week.
Yeah, and just really
FanDuel Fridays. FanDuel Fridays. Alliteration. That's what we're all about on this show. But so week 6 in the books. There's some stuff to talk about. There's some matchups to preview here, give you our picks, give you the betting lines, give you all the info you need to make a smart decision and be a smarter football fan. But if you are joining us, if you've never joined us before, we want to welcome you. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button there on the YouTube channel if you're joining us through there. If you're on Twitter, you more than likely already follow us, but go ahead and retweet the video. Have some friends. Give us a follow here as well. It's at 3 Man Rush. You can follow all 3 of us as well on Twitter. It is here in the description, our name description. So go ahead and give us a follow. Is there on there as well. And what we do on these videos, we give you 7 picks today. We'll go live again tomorrow night. 7 picks again. Finish up all 14 games this week. Give you our picks, predictions, how we think everything's going to play out. Talk about it a little bit of how the teams are performing or not performing. Depending on what team we're talking about here. We'll go ahead and get started with our first matchup. Another
speaking of not performing,
fantastic Thursday night football preview.
I can't believe Amazon gave up the bag for this.
Yeah, every week I think surely it won't get any worse than it has the week before, and every week it gets worse and worse. So hopefully,
this one's not too bad.
Yeah, we're counting on Cliff Kingsbury to save us.
We get new.
I'm counting on DeAndre Hopkins to save us. Yeah. That's really all I care about is that D Hop's back. Yeah, don't care about that. Don't care about that either.
How many wide receivers do they have to add to that team before they realize, like, hey, maybe our defense is a problem?
Maybe our play calling is a problem.
Yeah. That's what I tweeted out whenever the deal went down. I I tweeted. I said, "Add another one, Cliff. It'll work eventually."
Eventually.
Just-
That's the same, bro. It's the same shit. What did we both say whenever they drafted Rondell Moore? It's like of all people, he had to go to fucking Cliff.
yeah, who won't use them correctly?
Right. Yeah. This sucks,
Marcus
man.
Brown's been for a year, isn't he?
And hey, man, like
He got good news. A second
Yeah.
opinion came in that apparently Marquise Brown's only going to miss like 6 weeks. I think is what it was.
That's not too bad.
So yeah, it's better than the whole season report that came out after the injury initially. So
Is it a requirement for star wide receivers for Arizona Cardinals to miss 6 weeks?
it's starting to look that way.
Well, there's also, I'll tell you this: if Robbie Anderson was disgruntled playing with a undersized former Heisman-winning quarterback for Oklahoma, who is underperforming,
my God.
well,
There's no comparison.
boy, do I have some news for him.
However, he's better than Baker Mayfield.
I mean, he is in a vacuum. He is better, but the Cardinals' offense isn't functioning much better than what Carolina's was. Case in point, did you guys watch the Cardinals? Like, I know there's a lot of games on, so I don't want to assume. Did you guys watch the Cardinals game this past week?
On
I
Red
watched the
Zone.
first half, and
Was it? Did it show up on Red Zone?
Barely.
Kind of surprised.
Yeah.
You caught a small tidbit.
When Seattle had the ball, it did.
Well, see, and that's my worry with this Cardinals defense or Cardinals offense was like, all right, they get the Seattle Seahawks. Like the Seahawks defense bleeds points to everybody. This is going to be an offensive.
yeah, I think what they're giving up like an average of like 28 to 30 points a game right now.
Yeah, it's like it's bad, and not if you're playing the Arizona Cardinals. Like I was watching that game and I was like, holy shit, man, this Cardinals offense really is like they're as bad as we thought they were.
They really do suck.
Like they are who we thought they were. It's bad, man. I'm worried.
They desperately need James Conner to be healthy, and DeAndre Hopkins. If he would have started the season, I think this offense would have looked a lot different with those two things in place. Benjamin is not the answer at running back.
He's not that good.
Yeah.
No, Rondell Moore is a good player, but he's not anything that's going to like completely open the game up. Marquise Brown's had a good year.
He's great. He's been the only good part about that.
With all the Arizona issues, Marquise Brown's been the shining point of that offense.
He was on pace for like 120 receptions and 1,300 yards or something like that. Yeah, he's been awesome.
Yeah, he's a good player, man. On the other side of the ball, though, we still have the Saints.
Kamara's looked good 2 weeks in a row.
Yep,
really good.
Coming off a loss to the Bengals. Although that game was a little bit more competitive, than what you might think it would have been. So I do believe Andy Dalton should be back for this game. I don't know if he's starting. I don't know if Jameis is starting. I'd have to look at it, obviously, a little bit more tomorrow, whenever they're recording. But
I don't think anything's been said about Jameis's health at this point. Like they hadn't really given up much yet at this point in the week. So as the week goes on, we should learn more about Jameis's health. The question is, though, like even without Michael Thomas, without Chris Olave, the offense still didn't look terrible. Like there was a little bit of a rhythm going with Dalton through points of this game. So like the big question is, if Jameis is fully healthy, do they go back to Jameis or do they roll with Dalton? Because Chris Olave's already said he's playing this week. Now, granted, the player doesn't get to make that choice ultimately, but if he's that confident he's playing, I'm going to assume that he's playing. So what do they do? Do they go back to Jameis, assuming he's fully healthy, or do they stick with Dalton?
They do neither, and they play Taysom Hill.
Oh, gross.
He's not.
I think it's time we recognize that Taysom Hill is like legitly a game wrecker.
I don't believe that.
No.
I believe if you start Taysom Hill at quarterback for a full season, you're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
No. I agree. But I think
right now the Saints are picking in the top 5. Well, let me rephrase that. The Eagles are picking in the top 5.
Howie Roseman, man.
Man.
That guy.
He gets somebody every year, man. He will get somebody every year. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, is Lattimore back this week too? There's a lot of like, unknowns about this game. Um, Obviously the Cardinals, like the defense is still bad. It's just it's a tough. I'm so sick of bad Thursday night football. Like, and we had such promise to start the year, like the first
Yeah.
couple of weeks. Like, and even though, like, obviously the first week, sorry, Drew, it was a blowout, but at the
It
same
was.
time, like, I mean, it was still entertaining to watch because you're like, well, like, I know it's a blowout, but this Bills team,
At least we get to watch the
awesome.
Bills.
Yeah, this is great to watch. And at that, it's not even the lack necessarily of like, quality games or anything. They're not even scoring like in these Thursdays. Like, there's no touchdown. Like, there's
It's to the point that even the announcers are like, they're on live TV begging for a touchdown.
can we please get somebody to score?
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's unfortunate. Like, I think this week does change that, though. I think there will be some touchdowns put up this week.
I hope so.
For better or worse, because I think both these defenses are bad, and at least the offenses have talented pieces there to work with. Like, obviously, like with Arizona, you always worry about the play caller and stuff like that, but like, they have a good quarterback. They have good weapons out wide. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be back in this game. On the other side, if Olave plays, he's good. Kamara is obviously a game changer. So I mean, like, there's pieces there to work with on these offenses that, regardless, like, the defenses are so bad, like, somebody's going to get loose. Like, it's gonna have, like, somebody's going to get loose in one of these games. So yeah, I mean, is there anything you guys want to point out any more about this matchup, like as a whole, or players you're looking for, or anything like that? Or
you got to think that Hopkins is going to get absolutely fed in this game. Like, I don't see any way he doesn't get fed, and he's not coming back from injury or anything like that. I'm sure he's been staying in shape in his time away from the game, so it's not like he needs to get reacclimated because he's rehabbing an injury or anything like that. Like, I imagine it's going to be full go for Hopkins, and I'm just really excited to see one of the best this game has to offer back on the field finally.
Yeah. As an older wide receiver too, time off could have been better for him.
Like, yeah, because you kind of saw last year, it looked like he did kind of lose a step a little. Like, even whenever he was healthy last year, he wasn't, the same guy that we were so much, so used to. So I'm curious to see how having, a little bit extra time off, if he's able to get his legs under him and kind of get more of a fast start to the season or anything. But right now, the Cardinals are at home, but they are only 1.5 point favorites. It's a -120 money line. As well, Saints are -105 underdogs. So both, I mean, this is like just about as even as a line.
It's a coin flip.
Yeah. And total scoring is 44.5. So Vegas is betting on them to put up some points, at least, a couple, 2-3 touchdowns each. So we'll see. We'll see how that works, man. I'm going to go ahead and pick this game, though. Ugh, it's gross. I'm going to take the Cardinals.
It is gross. I'm taking the Saints. You're going to break the tie, Jared.
I'm going to take the Saints as well. I feel like their running game is better, and I do feel like the defense, even though it's struggling, is better than Arizona's. And I think they can still rush the quarterback.
Yeah, they can do that. So we'll see. I'm actually picking Cliff Kingsbury here. But that's what it is, right? So, all right, well, let's get into our next matchup here, and that is the Cleveland Browns versus the Baltimore Ravens. Two teams that are kind of struggling at the moment. And I know, like, for the Ravens, to me, like, they've played good teams. So it's not like they're out here just, like, losing to, like, bad rosters and anything like that. As much as y'all want to think the Browns or the Giants are a bad team, I've been trying to tell you they're good. But
yeah, I give up, man. We'll talk about that whenever we get there. But yeah,
wow, yeah, man. It's kind of weird though looking at this. Like, the offense has really been like ineffective here recently, and they had the fast start to the season, but it seems like teams have kind of figured out a little bit, and I know like this week specifically, it was Wink Martindale who, like I said, that's a point that I made whenever we were talking about the game previously. He was the defensive coordinator there for so long, and he
Revenge
knows
game.
how to play Lamar. And yeah, I mean, like it, so I mean, I don't necessarily know uh, if the Cleveland Browns defense is going to do anything because they have not been good at all. They're not playing up to par. They have a lot of really talented players, but this kind of seems to be like the key. And this has been like multiple years now where they just make things way too easy for other teams, like open spaces, guys like being able to set into zones, not really getting much pass rush, like outside of, because you can neutralize Myles Garrett as far as like, hey, we'll just put two guys on him, make him fight through double teams all day, and then somebody else.
And that's the only guy that made noise last week. Myles Garrett had 2 sacks, I think.
And outside of that guy, like nobody else is like their linebackers have really underperformed, like, and the DB.
At some point, I feel like you have, like, whenever you put that much talent on one side of the ball and you continue to underperform it, at some point, I think you have to point to the coaching.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's usually what I go through. It's like when I'm watching teams, and especially players that are underperforming, like talented players, like high picks out of college, and guys that made all conference teams. Not like you're clearly a good player to make it to the NFL. So why are they struggling? Like, is this something a little bit more? And it might not just be coaching. It might be a couple other things as far as, maybe they have personal stuff going on. Maybe they're, they just had a baby or something and they haven't slept for 2 weeks because they're going, pulling father. I mean, like literally like that stuff, like the human element with these guys' struggles gets completely ignored so much. And these guys are human. Like they're not just robots you just throw out there and, just hit the odd button and go play football. So, that's just stuff that I look at. It's like, why are these guys underperforming? To me, though, like to Drew's point, to me, it is the coaching, because the main issue right now that I see with the Browns defense are there's guys that are consistently out of position, like almost constantly. That's why you have some of these big plays that happen as far as, when they're dropping in the zones, guys aren't dropping, into their zone far enough. So then, like if you're playing cover 2, you have middle of the field or something like, middle field's open. You've got to have a guy that, carries one of those guys up, and they're just getting killed there. If they're playing cover 1, they have, the deep third there in the field, it's not getting carried properly. And like when they hit shots in those holes, people are able to set in these zones and play. And then whenever they're playing man coverage, they're just getting beat off the line. Like, like guys are just out physical in these, these DBs and stuff. So I don't know if it's technique. I mean, I'm sure it is. Some of it's technique, some of it's the player themselves not being prepared. But whenever you have a talented defense that's not performing, I look at coaching, and it's, I echo what Drew said. Like that's exactly what he said word for word. So
we said it last week, and it was probably the easiest call to make because everybody knows that Belichick is famous for taking away your best weapon. And we said last week they're not going to let Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt beat them. No. And I think Chubb and Hunt both had their worst game of the year. No. They tried to have Brissett beat them. Brissett turned the ball over. Spoiler alert, he did not beat him because, that's what happens whenever you ask Jacoby Brissett to go win a game for you. And so even though it was extremely obvious to us at this point, like Belichick gave the rest of the league the blueprint to slow down this Browns offense. And even without Wink Martindale, I would imagine that the Ravens are smart enough to replicate that. The thing for me, man, with this game, and it sucks to say this because like we're all huge Lamar supporters. Like we've been pounding the table, pay this guy is one of the best players, like not just quarterbacks, one of the best players in the league. But you also have to own the other side of it whenever he doesn't play well. And Lamar didn't look good last week, man. So I'm hoping and I'm expecting a big bounce back from Lamar this week. Like
I think it will be, because I think like
Lamar's pissed.
Well, one of the best things that I think, and a way you can get to a guy like Lamar Jackson is because he does so well playing through his instincts. as a quarterback, as a runner. Like he just always plays so much faster than what he is because he's not thinking out there. He just plays with instinct.
He does. He just does it. Yeah.
Yeah, he just does it. And that's one of the things the Giants did last week is they gave him multiple looks like he had to think, and it slowed him down. And I mean, as much as you can slow down a guy like that, they're still at some point, like they're going to get theirs at some point, but, that's how you slow down guys like that is, you disguise blitz. Like there was a blitz. I don't even know what to call
I saw
it.
the one you put on Twitter.
Yeah, the one I put on Twitter.
Yeah.
They stacked 3 guys there in the middle. And then, you had the guy in the back run a stunt. Jihad Ward, number 55, comes untouched. And
it was so impressive.
Yeah, it's just like those exotic looks that he gave him to where he's constantly having to decipher where guys were going to be at last week. Cleveland does none of those things. Like there's there's none of that. So he's not going to have to think. Like he's going to be able to get to the line of scrimmage, say, look up. There's 2 high right there. He's like, okay, they're running cover 2, and then guess what? They're going to fucking run cover 2. There's not going to be any mix up. They're not going to. They're not going to disguise and run hybrid, stuff. It's not going to happen. That's just not what they do, and that's on coaching to me. But yeah, that play was so sick for the Ravens. I loved it, and really
Wink Martindale was in his bag.
And what's hilarious too is I guess some other guys like piggybacked off of that clip because I saw it kind of floating around, and there were some guys that were like, oh, like Lamar should have just handed it off to Kenyon Drake. That was a bad play to Lamar. Bro, like
ain't nobody preparing for that.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's not even a zone read call. Like it's not a read option call. That's literally a called quarterback run because you see the offensive lineman pull to the left. Like that's a key to let you know. And like Lamar doesn't even look at Kenyon. Like he's not reading the guy. Like he's not reading Jihad Ward. The line pulls to the left and it's a designed quarterback run. So that wasn't even an option on the play. So everybody's like, well, if he just would have handed it off to Kenyon Drake, that play would have been a huge game. That wasn't even an option. Like, so it's like, oh my gosh, these people drive me nuts on Twitter.
That's the screenshot. The
screenshot quarterback. Yeah, let's just take a screen. Let's pause the button and say, oh, he should have just went there. Like, no.
Look at what I found. Yeah. No, I don't know what the status of Rashad Bateman is. The Ravens did bring in Deshaun Jackson. We'll see if he plays this week. But like I don't. Deshaun Jackson doesn't at this point. He doesn't move the needle a lot for me. Like he's still got the speed. He's shown that like it doesn't matter how old this dude gets. He's never gonna lose his speed.
He'll get loose.
He torched Dallas last year in that Thanksgiving game.
Like the only game he had last year.
Yeah. He absolutely torched Dallas.
That's me too with him is he'll play a couple games and then
that's all Deshaun needs. He just needs one play, and Lamar's shown with Rashad Bateman multiple times this year. If you get open deep, he'll hit you. Yeah. So I hope Bateman's back, man, because they were so reliant on.
Well, I know I saw on Twitter earlier he posted. I guess after the signing, he put LOL on his Twitter. And
did he?
So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know, but.
Deshaun Jackson at this point definitely is not fucking with the Rashad Bateman. So I hope.
I just don't. Yeah, well, I mean, I just don't understand the need for like them to constantly go to like the bottom of like the free agent barrel to like try to find guys. It's like
every time one of these signings happens, though, it makes me wonder what the hell is wrong with Will Fuller.
Something's got to be wrong with Will Fuller.
T.Y. Hilton, like I know T.Y. Hilton's like still out there, and like I don't know.
Like, did Will Fuller kill somebody, or what's going on, man?
Well, I will say, like he got busted with the anabolics and all that stuff last year, and that
was a couple years ago. At this point,
that was the only time he like stayed healthy. Is whenever he was on steroids.
Right, whenever he was on steroids.
Yeah. So guys are probably like, look, man, like this guy, if he ain't on the juice, man.
But still, Will Fuller without the roids really isn't better than damn near 40-year-old Deshaun Jackson. Like Will Fuller without the roids ain't better than what the Packers are rolling out there right now with no Sammy Watkins and like no deep threat that exists. Like it's
that's a team I'm ready to get to.
It's wild to me, man. Every time a wide receiver gets signed like this, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with Will Fuller? But that has nothing to do with this matchup. It blows my mind. But I do think Lamar, obviously he's he's his own agent, him and his mom, him and his family. He's looking to get paid. There's no way knowing Lamar that he's happy with the way that he played this past week. And with the Browns defense performing under expectations once again, and it's to be in a division game, like Lamar's taking this shit personal, and I fully expect I fully expect Lamar to come out and just.
Well, the Ravens, so the Ravens are at home, and it
Right.
is, so the Ravens are -6.5 favorites on the point spread, and they're minus
I would
278.
I would take the Ravens on that.
Yeah, -278 favorites to win the game. Browns are +210 underdogs, 46.5 over under right now for that game. So, let's go ahead and pick the game. I know for me, it's a pretty easy call. Unlike last week, I'm riding with the Ravens flock this week. I'm taking the Ravens. Big J, shout out to Jay Barlow. I heard from him a little bit earlier today. He messaged me, so shout out to my boy Jay. But we're going with the Ravens.
Yep.
Yeah. Same.
Clean sweep.
Yeah. All right. Now let's get into our next matchup: Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. Oh boy. Trouble in Tampa, man. I know, Drew, you said last week
for all the wrong reasons, man.
Yeah, I know. You said last week if this was one of the two teams, you said if they lost their matchup this week, you're hitting the button on.
Yep.
I'm sure you watched the game last week, obviously, but
I did.
Did you see anything that changes your mind about hitting the button, or are you still pressing that eject?
I'm hitting the panic button, but it's for a completely different reason than apparently everybody else. Like I'm not worried about Tom. People are freaking the fuck out because Tom went to a wedding and he missed a Saturday walkthrough. Like he hasn't been through 500 of these and shit like that. And like he's not constantly under pressure, and like he's not constantly throwing to receivers that aren't open. Like they're not constantly failing to scheme guys open. And just if you look at all the metrics, if you look at all the numbers, if you think for any reason that Tampa struggles are on Tom, you're missing the whole point. And like the running game's bad, the offensive line's bad, the defense is underperforming. Tom's the only one at this point in his career, especially considering the time he's taken off and things like that. Like Tom is performing just as good as he should be if you look at every efficiency metric across the board. And I couldn't believe looking at social media this way. I don't know why I say I couldn't believe because it's social media, but looking at social media this weekend, seeing the whole like going to Robert Kraft's wedding is the reason why they lost the game and Tom wasn't ready and all that bullshit. Like
Robert Kraft got married?
Yeah. Old people never stop getting married. Old rich white people that just keep getting married.
How old was she? I'm just curious.
I have no idea. I know.
Well, we can talk about that or this offensive line. Which one is worse? So.
Yeah, right. I would rather talk about Kraft's wedding than this Tampa offensive line. But it blows my mind, man. It really does. Just seeing all these broad statements about Tom whenever he is the least of what Tampa should be worried about. So Tampa as a whole, yes, I'm still pressing the panic button. I'm still concerned. Being concerned with what the rest of the general public is concerned about? No, I'm not. I don't share the same concerns. But yeah, no, but the game was concerning, but just for completely different reasons. And I feel like a lot of people are missing the point. So that was my biggest concern is like, what is everybody else watching? Because I don't know how you can watch the games the past few weeks and be like, yeah, Tom Brady's the problem.
Yeah, the problem is the offensive line. Like, I mean,
to me, man, the line's been bad, but that's not even the most concerning thing to me. The most concerning thing to me is the fact that you have a defense full of veterans and you've put out the performances you've put out there in the last couple of weeks. And especially this last week, man, there was a ton of busted coverages, breakdowns defensively. They might have had more breakdowns this week than probably any team that I've watched so far. This week, I've only made it through like 3 or 4 games, but that was rough, man. Like, and that's more concerning. Like we know what the offensive line is. They had a ton of injuries this offseason.
And departures.
Yeah, and departures, guys, leaving. So I mean, like it was to be expected. What wasn't to be expected to me, and that's what's a little more concerning, is the fact that you have a defense that they came out hot. They kept the Buccaneers in the games, and big thrill. He wanted to be
by.
Yeah, he wanted to let the Buccaneers let them know what he thought about them. But
he's a Vikings fan, so he's having a good year so far.
Oh man,
yeah, he is.
But yeah, man, like that's what's more concerning to me is like we knew what the offensive line was going to be, but I did not expect the defense to have near what they've put on tape over the last couple games. So that's something they need to get fixed. It's tough. I don't really know what's going on down there. And then like the only thing that I'll say like that is possibly that I would agree with as far as like the Brady missing, he missed camp, he takes Wednesdays off, he doesn't goes and fly, like none of that stuff. Like I know it's Tom Brady, so like that's why it's kind of hard for me to think like, well, this guy hasn't really deserved the benefit of the doubt. But if nobody else in that locker room like or is getting that treat, it's kind of the same thing like with Russell Wilson and like why the Seattle, like the defense and the Seahawks defense always had that stuff to say, because it's like, well, Russell Wilson, is the quarterback, he's held to a higher standard, but he's getting away with all this stuff, so it didn't play well in the locker room. So that's my only point is like it might not play well in the locker room is like all I'm saying. And you have guys, I mean, like on the field he's fine. I'm not worried about Brady on the field at all. But like I said, like it's hard to say because a guy like Tom Brady, like he's preparing, he's watching film, he's doing what he's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you really question that. But like I said, from an outside perspective, I mean, it's like going to work with an employee. And like, even though that employee is the best employee, the company's had or anything like that, whenever you see that guy getting away with some stuff and you're still having to throw in, put in your 9 to 5 and all that, like it's just human nature to have jealousy set in. Like it is, it's human nature. And so that might rub some guys the wrong way.
If that's the case, I feel like they're just a little delusional to the whole process. Like Russell Wilson, if people are upset about Russ getting unfair treatment, that's one thing. Whenever you got Tom fucking Brady, who's done what he's done, accomplished what he's accomplished, proved what he's proven, like if he gets a Saturday off to go to a wedding that he wants to go to, so fucking what? He's probably still the most prepared person on that offense. Like,
that's the point I was making. Like, he's still probably grinding.
Yeah, he's probably watching film on the way to and from the shit. Like he's showing up more prepared than everybody else, which is why I don't have a problem with it. He has shown time and time again his work ethic to where there is no doubt, there is no question, there is no.
He's still playing the way he's playing at 45.
Yeah, that's why it's a little different than whenever you talk about the Russ. It's a fair comparison to make because like in terms of what we know and what's been brought to light, Russ is really the only one we can compare it to, from what's been passed along to us as the general public that aren't in the locker rooms. But Brady's just on a whole nother level. And if you go to Tampa expecting anything different, you were a tad bit delusional on your way to Tampa, apparently, to think that, it was like if anybody in the league deserves, preferential treatment, it's probably Tom at this point, So, I mean, it's just for anybody to try to point to Tom as the problem here. I
think that's just more of a media thing,
It probably is, but I saw it too much this weekend to feel uncomfortable, to feel comfortable about it. So,
we do have a comment though. Our boy Julian joining the show. What's up, Julian? Thanks for joining us here. He said, "If the NFL lets the Chiefs get Brian Burns, I'm done."
He's definitely the name to watch at the trade deadline with how young he is, how talented of a pass rusher he is, and it seems like he's up for grabs. And
Yeah,
the Chiefs defense could certainly use them. They just granted they freed up some cap space today with the Travis Kelce move, but they literally had like $5 in cap space before they made that move. So
yeah.
like
I think that was just more like give them some
could
breathing room as opposed to
it could have purely just been like, man, we got to breathe a little bit. Like we're teetering on the
yeah, I
line.
believe
But
they had 200, like right around $200,000 in cap space.
yeah, they were
which
down
is like
bad.
nothing. So yeah, they needed, especially to like injuries happen, you might need to sign a guy, like
Right.
you got to keep your options open. You got to have a little bit of breathing room. So I think that's most of what that
But
Kelce thing was. As
to his
opposed,
point, though, if they land Brian Burns, that they certainly don't need a whole lot of help on the offense. The defense is where and especially the pass rush, like they tried to blitz
Brian Burns
Allen.
with Chris Jones, man, that's
and they tried to blitz Josh Allen a couple different times in that game this past week, and like two of his touchdowns, the big one to Gabe Davis and the one to Stephon Diggs were heavy blitzes coming at Josh Allen whenever he made those plays. So they certainly could use Brian Burns, and the secondary is banged up. It's only going to get healthier. So you mix a healthy secondary with Brian Burns being added to that pass rush, yeah, the Chiefs would be a problem.
I agree. I would also be done. He said, yeah, that's the point he made. Now he put this up there. He said, Burns and Chris Jones, good luck with that.
Good luck indeed.
Yeah, good luck indeed, man. That's tough. That's tough.
I know we haven't talked about the Panthers at all, but is there really, other than the fact that like CMC might move on and
yeah, CMC maybe Robbie Anderson out there fighting with coaches.
The only thing to talk about is the guys that might leave the Panthers. Like there's the Panthers are on the fast track to getting the number one pick at this point. Like it feels like that's what they're playing for, and as they should be. They suck.
Yeah,
they're terrible.
It's. I mean, have you seen so they moved Robbie Anderson and there's some other guys. Have you seen their wide receiver core, like the updated wide receiver core yet?
DJ Moore, and then take your best guess. Terrace Marshall. Yeah, those are the only names that come to mind is DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall. I really don't know who the rest of the wide receiver core would be. And even Terrace Marshall has been irrelevant, since they drafted him. He was a guy that admittedly I liked coming out of LSU. Has not played out the way I thought it would. I still don't really know if that's Terrace Marshall or just how awful Carolina and their quarterback play and their offensive schemes have been. But yeah, it's ugly in Carolina. It really is. The defense isn't terrible. But if they get rid of Brian Burns, it's going to make life a lot more difficult for the defense. But yeah, this Panthers team is bad. I really don't think it's much of a mystery who we're going to be taking in this Bucs versus Panthers matchup. As worried as we are about the Bucs at this point, I think this is a pretty easy call in my opinion.
Yeah. So right now their wide receivers after the move they have DJ Moore, Shi Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Terrace Marshall, Laviska Shenault, and Rashard Higgins.
Oh, it's Laviska Shenault's season.
Oh my God!
It's finally here.
Hey, Drew, I know you'll appreciate this. Your boys down at the ever so lovely PFF.
I bet they like Shenault, don't they?
Do you know who the number one rated wide receiver in football is?
It's Laviska Shenault, isn't it?
It's Laviska Shenault.
Look, hey. To be fair, very, very very small sample size, So he's looked really good in that sample size. So
he is the number one receiver in the NFL per PFF.
I always knew it.
No,
they're just a year or two late.
If only he could get six targets a season every year, he would be the best receiver of all time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Buccaneers, as you can guess. Minus 10.5 favorites on the point spread in this game. That's a huge thing. Minus 500 favorites to win. Panthers are plus 333 underdogs. I might just take a shot on that. I mean, to be fair, nobody saw the Steelers beating the Bucs last week, so
that's very true.
Yes, I mean that's a huge. That can pay some dividends. Only a 40.5 point over under.
God. in a Tampa Bay game. That's just crazy here.
With how bad Carolina's been, and then with how dysfunctional Tampa's offense as a whole, especially their running game and things like that's been, I can't really blame them.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
And they're not going to need a lot of points to beat Carolina. So
yeah. So I mean, like, for show purposes, I'm taking the Panthers, or not the Buccaneers.
Clip it.
I'm not taking the Panthers. But
let's go, Landon. There you go.
Yeah, but like I said, if I wanted to take a wild shot on winning some big money next week, I might throw a little bit of money down on the Panthers just because that line is so ridiculous. Like, you could literally like put like $20 down. I think you would win damn near like $100. So
you'd lose $20 is what you would do.
Yeah, that's all it comes out to.
More than likely, I heard this. I think I heard this last week though too. I'm pretty sure.
If the NFL has shown us anything over the course,
the parity in this league, bro.
It's at an all-time high right now. I don't know if it's at that much of an all-time high, but nevertheless,
well, you know what's at an all-time low, or not all-time low, but the lowest since 2004, I believe. Scoring is at an all-time.
Yeah, that's really low.
Since 2004.
Yeah.
So. All right, well, now let's get into our next matchup here. We all took the Buccaneers. That is the Atlanta Falcons and Cincinnati Bengals. Drew, I know I talked to you before the show started a little bit.
Kyle Pitts caught a touchdown.
I know. Look at this.
Sure did.
You've had some words for Arthur Smith, but you said, it was time to kind of recognize a little bit of the job he's doing. Not necessarily the job for fantasy football, but for the job in real life football. Putting in there. And I don't know if you want to touch on that a little. You've been his toughest critic. So.
I admittedly I have been, but I watched a decent amount of this game because they were playing, one of the Rams' biggest rivals in the 49ers, and the efficiency with the game plan with Mariota is extremely impressive.
Yeah, Mariota had a good game, man.
Putting him in positions to succeed, mixing the run with the pass, things like that, and the run schemes that Arthur Smith continues to cook up are impressive. It's take notes whenever it comes to stuff like that, man. It's been really impressive. I still don't think that Mariota's the answer. I don't know the point of all of this, because this is a bad team, a bad roster. But you're winning games, and Arthur Smith is like what he's doing. As much as we may hate it, it's working. Especially like this 49ers defense. It wasn't.
I don't hate it. I mean, I hate that. I do question the Kyle Pitts usage. Like, I do question that. But
the play he drew up for the Pitts touchdown was solid.
Yeah.
Like he got him out there on an island by himself. It was
where I stand on throwing rookie quarterbacks in.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know, man. I've always been of the belief that you should either be all in for one direction or the other. Like, either you're a championship contending team or
the worst place you could
embrace that you're not. And like I watched the Rams go 7-9 and 8-8 for so many years under Jeff Fisher. And like he even had the famous Hard Knocks rant. I'm not going fucking 7-9 this year, and then I'm pretty sure they did. And it's just like, that's where the Falcons are for me. And so it's like they're not playing bad. Mariota's playing fine. Like the game plan you could not put up a better game plan for Marcus Mariota. Credit to Arthur Smith. He is drawing up the best possible game plan for his personnel. But I just don't understand what we're accomplishing here, because you're not going to win. You're not going to win playoff games. You're just winning.
I think too, man. Like, I don't know.
But coaches aren't going to play. Like, coaches aren't going to fucking cook up a plan to lose. Is the reality. Like,
that's what I was gonna say. Is like, I mean, like, because that's your job, that's your livelihood,
right? Yeah, like I don't blame Arthur Smith for what he's doing. It makes sense from his standpoint. It's just like, if I was a Falcons fan, I'd be kind of fucking annoyed. I'm not gonna lie. Because Falcons fans have to know the reality of where this team and where this roster's at. But they just beat, like, the 49ers defense was just a week or two ago. They were like, should we be putting these guys in a conversation with the 85 Bear and yada yada yada, and then
Yeah.
Marcus
Well, I mean,
Mariota's
they
out
lost
there.
Nick Bosa. That like
They've had a shit ton of injuries.
Yeah, they
Like
got a lot of
you can't discount that. But it's
I mean,
just
I don't. Yeah, I think we gotta have a little more sample size before we get to like the 2000 Ravens talk. Like, let's chill out a little bit.
I mean, I agree that we should too, but the internet doesn't care about none of that stuff,
Oh
and
no,
and they were being put in those
I'll take
conversations. And regardless of the injuries you have or not, you can't be letting Marcus Mariota carve you up in key situations and letting Arthur Smith just run game on you the whole
He
game.
had a perfect passer rating at one point in
I
the
think he
game.
only had like one fucking incomplete pass the whole game.
He didn't throw a whole lot, but I mean,
No, he only had like 14 pass attempts or something like that, but he was efficient with them.
Yeah,
You know,
every
and
made every one of them count.
yeah, that's all you can. I mean,
dude, that's how.
Mariota,
I mean, that's
Mariota
how the
did
Giants
what
are winning
was
games.
yeah. They're very very similar teams.
Very well. I Giants are a little bit better than Atlanta. But
No, they are. The Giants are a better team, but their game plans and things like that are very
smart.
similar.
They're smart in situational football. And
Dean Pease, like one of my favorite names in the league, Dean Pease,
yeah,
and that defensive unit, man, like Dean Pease. So if you're listening and you don't know, Dean Pease is the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like I grossly underestimated the Falcons defense coming into the year with the way that they played.
something else too.
Granted,
That a unit that doesn't
they did
get
play Jimmy Garoppolo, who's a complete fraud, but but they forced Jimmy G into a situation where he had to try to win them a game, and we know Jimmy G can't do that. So, but
did you actually watch the game then?
Yeah, I really did.
Did you see how many drops those wide receivers had?
Yeah, I did see some drops.
There was a lot of drops. So let's
not
put this all on Jimmy G.
Not near as many as Aaron Rodgers. I don't think as many as Aaron Rodgers had to deal with this past week. But
I do want to shout out to with the Falcons before we move on to the Bengals here. The Falcons' offensive line this year has been fantastic.
It has.
That's a big part of why.
Which is so funny because now we were thinking coming into the year last year it's like, well, Matt Ryan's going to go from the Falcons' offensive line to the Colts' offensive line. What a huge fucking upgrade that's going to be. And it's been the exact opposite. The Colts' offensive line's a complete mess. The Falcons have, right now, I would say one of the 5 to 6 best offensive lines in all of football. So just goes to show you never know what you think you know. So, yeah, the Falcons' O-line, man, like those guys are really getting it done. So I just want to give them some love because I feel like, nobody really talks about them. And, like I said, it's 3-3 football team. But I just want to, point out some stuff with that. So now let's get on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Got a big win finally. They've been waiting to get right, basically. And even this game, there were some question marks. They didn't play necessarily like great defensively, but they played good enough to win. And just Joe Burrow, finally best game of the season for him. Like, dude was so good. He was on Jamar Chase, man. Like, what a monster that guy is.
I know I gave the Falcons defense some love just now, but like AJ Terrell got banged up in this game last week. If they don't have AJ Terrell in this game, it could just be wash, rinse, repeat from last week for this Bengals passing offense.
Bengals putting up 30 plus.
That's kind of how I'm foreseeing this game going.
Yeah. The Bengals, though, their offensive line's like the exact opposite of the Falcons, though. Like their offensive line is bad, man.
La'el Collins is not as advertised. Maybe those injuries are catching up to him. I don't know, but
yeah, it's pretty crazy to put the resources that they put into that offensive line this offseason and for it to be like potentially worse than it was. Like
it's not any better, that's for sure.
That's crazy. And that's another thing that I look at and is like, what is coaching doing to putting these guys in positions to succeed? And that's kind of been a big theme of the week for me, talking offensive linemen. I had a post, I don't know if you guys saw it, about one of the Colts offensive linemen, Matt Pryor. I kind of zeroed in on him. If you go to my Twitter, you can see it. I zeroed in on him on the pass to Alec Pierce to win the game. last week. So if you look at the play, like it's a net positive play. You're looking at the play and you're like, game-winning touchdown, everything's good, everything's cool. But that's why it's important to look on the tape, because in the stat sheet, that's a positive play. On the film for Matt Pryor on the offensive line, that's not a positive play. It was a negative rep. So the reason why, though, is it because, like I said, I pointed it out. I'm like, hey, Matt Ryan gets killed here, not looking good, for the move there. But, and this kind of ties into offensive line play with the Bengals, is kind of, what I'm questioning is Matt Pryor, beginning of the season. So he was naturally a right guard. He's a guard. The Colts asked him to lose weight. He lost almost 30 pounds to play left tackle. He trained all off season. Like he was doing southpaw boxing, like training and getting used to his left side, because he's not a natural left guy. He's more of a right-sided guy. So he spent the last 8 months preparing to play left tackle. Well, obviously he doesn't do well there. So what do they do on 4 days rest? They move him to the right side at right tackle. So now automatically everything he spent the last 8 months doing, he's doing backwards. So now what happens? He fails there. He doesn't look good.
Well, what could go wrong?
Yeah, and not only that, but it was a short week. They put him in there with 4 days with a Thursday night game coming up. He had 4 days to prepare. They didn't have a single practice, just walkthroughs. So obviously he doesn't look good there. Well, then he doesn't look good there. So then what's the next logical step? Let's kick him inside. Well, you asked him to lose 30 pounds this offseason. So what does he look like in this game? He's getting ran over. He's getting bulldozed. He can't push anybody in the run game. And he spent the last 8 months training to use his left side. So whenever he gets beat, where do you think he's pushing guys? If he's at the right guard, if you push a guy left, where do you think they're getting pushed to? Directly up the middle into the quarterback. So he doesn't look good. So whenever you're looking at that, you're like, oh, well, this guy doesn't look good. And this goes back to my point earlier of like, let's look at the why. Why doesn't this guy look good? So on the field, yeah, it's easy to point out to a guy and say, like, this guy, stinks. This guy's not a good player. And granted, he might, he's not a great player. He's not a great player. But there's a lot of compounding factors that are going into why he's failing. So that's what I'm curious about with the Bengals is you put all these resources in. A lot of these guys have had success in their careers. They're not bad players. So why are they failing? That's my curious. Like that's what I'm curious about, and that might be something because I haven't watched a ton of Bengals film, so that might be something I need to dive into to figure out. I don't know, but
well, look, I will say the success the Bengals offense, passing offense specifically saw wasn't necessarily a tip of the cap to the offensive line, because I'm pretty sure Burrow got the ball out relatively quickly. The majority of the game against the Saints last week. So it's not like, it was a big change in him getting a whole bunch of time back there or anything like that either.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the good things of how you minimize bad offensive line play is you kind of speed things up a little bit as far as, maybe you play with more tempo. Defensive line tires out some. They don't have the push that they would normally have if you're running just normal pace.
They can't run the ball either.
Yeah,
Mixon looks bad. His efficiency is awful, and it's not all on him, but
yeah, there's no separation whatsoever. Burrow, I mean, he's doing the best he can with what he has. Like, but at the same time,
similar to Brady, that's the guy I'm not concerned about.
Right,
which is crazy to see so much bad offensive line play in the league this year. Like, it seems like every other team we talk about, it's like, well, their offensive line is really bad. So, I mean, and like some of that too, like, I mean, obviously everything plays a role because a lot of it's, coverages, are getting like, there's been more. I saw a post too from Brett Coleman. If you don't follow him on Twitter,
you should.
Yeah, you definitely should. But he had a post earlier about the percentages of cover 3. Like there's been more cover 3 and cover 2 played this year over as opposed to cover 1 than there has been.
Defense are just begging teams to dink and dunk.
Yeah, and so like a lot of these guys, man, like they're like you're not seeing, the deep shots or anything like that you previously have. I mean, unless you're the Bills or somebody like that, but that that's a bad measuring stick right now for any other.
Yeah, there's not very many Buffalo Bills. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
but that's why you see so much bad offensive line play. Is a lot of it, yes, the offensive line stinks. Yes, like I don't know if they're getting developed properly because I know it's been an issue in college for a long time where these guys aren't able to get developed properly in college. So that's why there's such a huge learning curve when they're coming into the NFL. But I also think a lot of it has to do with coverage. Like a lot of these, especially like this rookie DB class, is insane. So you're getting a ton of influx of great cover corners over the last couple of years, like guys like Surtain, that are coming in, Sauce Gardner, Tariq Woolen, the kid in New England. There's so many good corners that have come in the last 2 years, and combine that with offensive scheme, man, like it's getting a lot harder for these wide receivers to separate. And that's why you see scoring down so much this year as opposed to years past. And that does affect the offensive line too, because if guys can't get open and quarterbacks are having to hold onto that ball and wait for guys, to be at their marks or something like that, you're going to take more sacks. It's just the name of the game. So it all kind of plays its role. It's not just one. It's never as simple as just, this guy sucks. So
yeah, it's not.
So yeah, let's go ahead and pick this game, fellas. If you were curious about the lines right now, Bengals are 6.5 point favorites. They are at home, so Bengals are -6.5 on the point spread, -278 favorites to win. On the money line, Falcons +205 underdogs, 47.5 point over under. So could be a fun little game to watch if you like offense. There hasn't necessarily been a ton of that this year, but Vegas is predicting, a little bit of a shootout here. So let's go ahead and get our picks in. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals.
I also take the Bengals, but
don't use the but.
It's going to be a very close game, and both these offenses are going to hum. But I'll take the Bengals.
See, listen, that's for you, huh?
I'm taking the Bengals too, and with how good the Bengals defense has been this year, I don't know how much ho hum is going to be going on for the Falcons offense, but I'm kind of at this point I'm kind of done doubting Arthur and his offensive schemes. I might not like how the points come and how the production comes, but it keeps coming. So. But I'm gonna take the Bengals, and just Arthur, thank you for not even the Pitts touchdown, but Drake London, I believe, had 100% routes run on Mariota's dropbacks, and then Kyle Pitts in his first game back from injury I think he was only not out there for like a couple of Mariota's dropbacks. So just that's all I ask Arthur Smith is just put your two fucking best players on the field whenever you know you're going to pass the ball. That's all I want from you. The rest of it is just icing on the cake. So he did that this past week. You're off my shit list for now.
That's never a place you want to be with Drew. You don't want to be on that shit list. So.
That's right.
Congratulations, Arthur.
Arthur Smith is wiping the sweat off his forehead now.
He's like, man, these guys on the internet, they get it. Let's get into our next game here, boys. Detroit Lions versus the Dallas Cowboys. Detroit Lions.
The return of Dak.
It's not even Thanksgiving and we get this game. Oof.
Return of the Dak.
Ooh, I like that. Return of the Dak. Little Mark Morrison for you old heads out there. If y'all don't know about Mark Morrison.
That was really nice, Jared. Well done.
Good. I like that.
I was trying to make a finger reference with the song too, but
just take the win. Don't push your luck. Just keep. We don't want any more impressions or Italian.
Yeah.
It's coming.
We don't need this show to go Jewish.
Yeah.
Jewish Italian
Jared impressions.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So if you're a big fan of offense, you'll probably like this game. If you're a big fan of defense, you probably will not like this game. The Detroit Lions are coming off a bye, though. I'm curious to see the changes they did make, if there were any at all. if they didn't make any adjustments on the defensive side of the ball and how they're playing some of these guys and anything like that, I think there might need to be a discussion about Motor City Dan Campbell.
Did they make any trades on the defensive side of the ball?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Spoiler alert: this defense is still going to be bad.
And the Dallas Cowboys defense is really good.
They are that offensive. Yeah, but see, this is the Lions' offensive line is really good too. So
it'll be a good test for the Cowboys pass rush for sure.
Yeah. And so this is gonna be a fun matchup to watch for me as far as watching line play, offensive line versus defensive line, and then
on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and then if Dak is going to be back and hell, I mean I still don't know for sure if he's gonna be back, but from what I understand, like signs are kind of pointing to yes, he will. So I mean we'll keep an eye on it later in the week, or if we have any breaking news, we'll obviously post something on Twitter.
There's my lead in breaking Dak Prescott.
Yeah, breaking Dak Prescott.
I'm done. That's all I got.
Yeah, take it while you're ahead. Don't push your luck. But yeah, man, there's not really too much to say about this. Cowboys are a good team. Cooper Rush did an admirable job. I mean, he came back to earth obviously this week, but the Philly defense,
to be expected against Philly's defense.
Yeah, that's a tough matchup.
Did you see the Cooper Rush, his wife in the stands, and people talking about her using their airline miles to pay to go all the way to Philly to watch that game?
Yeah, I did see that.
I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, old Jerry couldn't shell out anything to help his quarterback out, I guess. Thank God for those air miles.
Man, if it would have been Dak's wife, he would have flown her there on his private jet.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Or if his wife played running back, then she would be swimming in money right now.
Yeah, he would have paid
He
her.
loves to pay running backs, man.
They really do.
Hashtag never pay running back. Shout out to
Jackson,
the Rush podcast.
The perfect example of it, man.
Yeah, there's a few examples this week.
There was.
There's a few examples this week. So, yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see that back on the field, man. Cooper Rush was fun.
Yeah, I like
it. It was cool while it lasted. Great. The first half of the Eagles Cowboys game, he showed why there is no quarterback controversy. And so I'm excited to see Dak back. I am. And this is a nice game for him to come back to against this Lions defense. He should have himself a nice little welcome committee because the Lions are going to do too much to slow him down on defense.
Yeah.
No offense.
I'll say too, man.
But the Lions don't have the personnel on defense to hang with people. They just don't.
And Kellen Moore, man, has done a freaking awesome job with that offense this year. So
I agree.
So yeah, he's been really good. So the lines for this game, the lines for the Lions. Cowboys are -7 point spread. They're -133 favorites in the money line. So pretty heavy favorites. Lions are +240 underdogs to win, and it's a 48.5 point over under. Should be a little bit of a shootout there. Let's go ahead and pick the game though. The Lions have got me in so much trouble because I thought they were further along than what they were. I think they still need a little bit of time. So I'm going to correct my mistake here. I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys.
Same.
I want to pick the Detroit Lions.
Oh, man.
Jeez.
So hear me out. Where do the Lions play well at? On offense.
The 50s?
No.
When was the last time they won it? The 1950s?
Indoor stadiums.
Oh. Okay.
They do have an indoor stadium, yeah.
Where do the Cowboys not play well at?
Home.
Historically home. I like the Lions. I think they get back on track. I think Dak doesn't look good coming back from his first game back. I got the Lions.
You're hoping for a quarterback controversy, aren't you? You want some talk?
Down a little bit.
Jared just likes the drama.
He likes the drama.
No, I think the Lions. I think the Lions win this game.
All right, I can dig it. I like bold predictions. I'm the king of them. All right, let's get to our. We have this one and one more.
Yep, this one and one more.
Yep. So, boy, here we go. New York Football Giants, maybe, versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have come back down to Jacksonville. I'm going to say to earth, but they've come back down to Jacksonville. They are the Jaguars. They first couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks in, everybody was on it, including myself. They did look good, so it's it's hard to make a proper read on where teams are that early in the season, and they rightfully got the love they deserved, but they've come back down to earth now.
The real Jackson Jaguars are starting to stand up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then look, the New York Giants, they have not come back down to earth. They're going to the moon right now. So yeah, like they're not landing anytime soon. Especially, I don't know if you've seen their schedule for the next few weeks, but there's a realistic shot this team is like 8-1. Like
the schedule is not.
They got through the rough part of their schedule. Like that's what's crazy. Like they, outside of the NFC East matchups later on in the year, but yeah, man. Like I'll pull up their schedule if you want to talk, Drew. You been on?
Yeah. I owe these guys an apology, man. I've been like, I gave Brian Daboll his credit last week. That I underestimated what he could do despite the talent on the team. But I did not think it would be enough to beat Baltimore.
Okay. Yeah,
I gave Daboll his credit. Now I need to give Wink Martindale his credit because that defense is showing out. And I didn't feel like the defense had the personnel to do this either. And I think even more so than the offense, that's what's surprising me, is what the defense is doing. And I underestimated adding Wink Martindale to this to this coaching staff. I underestimated what that would do for this team. And
it's amazing what great coaching can do.
Coaching matters, as we say, but I underestimated what Wink could do. And I still, similar to the Falcons, I still feel like Daniel Jones, despite his he's been just fine, he's been good. I still feel like he's not the answer, and I still feel like the Giants are kind of in this middle of the pack period that they're going to find themselves in because I think this is a playoff team. But I think come playoff time, we're going to see the limitations of this team because Daniel Jones is the quarterback. And again, I will say I cannot wait, and I hope for the day that we get to see what Brian Daboll, head coach, can do with an elite quarterback because we saw what he did as an offensive coordinator with Josh Allen, and we're seeing what he's doing in real time right now with Daniel Jones while he's being a head coach. I really hope the New York Giants land themselves a quarterback because they could be a special team with the coaching staff they have in place there. So yeah, I'm done doubting the Giants games where
I'm going to give you their next 4 games too, by the way, just in case you want to doubt.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so obviously you got this game. You got them against the Jaguars. Then at Seattle.
W.
At home versus the Texans.
W.
At home versus the Lions.
W.
That's
Absolutely.
9-1.
They should run the table on those games. I'm not doubting them anymore. Those are all games that this Giants team with the coaching staff they have in place with what they've done at this point this season.
And then, it does get a little iffy there because they've got Cowboys, Commanders.
Cowboys is the only team that's beat them up to this point in the year.
Yeah. And then they got Eagles. Yeah, they got Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, Commanders.
I'm really not. I would fully expect the Giants to beat the Commanders at this point.
Yeah, I agree, especially with Carson Wentz out. But
those Eagles games are going to be tough. The game against the Cowboys is going to be tough.
And then to end the season, they got a little bit of a rough stretch. They got the Vikings, the Colts, and the Eagles.
But with the stretch they've got coming up the next few games,
They
along with
give,
what
they
they've
can give
already
themselves a
done,
huge cushion right
yeah,
now.
they could even if they struggle down the stretch, they
Really,
could
there's
and
a good
probably
chance. Like
should still
if
be a
they win these
playoff team.
next 4 games, yeah, there's a good chance. Like they can win 2 games and still be in the like
Shit,
they'll be.
they might win the division still.
It's possible.
Like
It's
like
possible.
the Eagles are playing out of their minds, so it's not a guarantee. But
Right.
with the Giants have been impressive, and I've been on record that I did not believe,
And then
not necessarily in Brian Daboll, because I like we all raved about that coaching hire in the offseason. That was
love this.
a great move, but yeah, I was not a believer in this team as a whole, and as we say time and time again, coaching matters. And if there's ever been a fucking blueprint for how much it matters, it's this team with what Daboll and what
Great, good. Sign of good coach teams is they're great in situational football,
yep.
which the Giants are phenomenal at, and they're efficient. They don't, they take advantage of mistakes and they don't make mistakes.
And halftime change ups and things like that, like the Giants in the first half against Baltimore, it looked like another game Baltimore was going to win. And the adjustments that were made by that team at halftime, it's just they are
Yeah,
a
just
very,
tweaking.
very
Yeah,
well
yeah,
coached
just
team.
tweaking a little, a little bit. But there's also a thing with the Giants that I know Drew, you're kind of in on this as well during the off season, as far as being vehemently against the narrative. So I want to give you a chance to spike the football for yourself. The talk of Kayvon Thibodeau not caring about football being why he dropped. And then you see this week them win the game against Baltimore. He's pretty emotional because it was a big game. It was a big test. Guys are still doubting them. You listen to the guys in the locker room talk about how much he loves football and how much he means to them in the locker room and how much he tries, to get everybody hype and ready to go. And it just sounds the exact opposite of what we heard during draft season, which I think we both agreed was probably a little bit of a smokescreen to make him drop. But I know at the time, and we can go back and pull receipts on this, at the time, you were very against the narrative of Kayvon Thibodeau not caring about football. So after this week, with all the stuff that's coming out, I want to give you a chance to spike that football a little bit for yourself.
Yeah, I just think that shit's fucking stupid, man, is what it comes down to. I think that that's something that you cannot quantify. You can't put a grade on something like that. And for so many people to just be like, I know for a fact he doesn't care. It's just, no, you fucking don't. You don't. You're not in his mind. You have no idea. And to pretend that you do is delusional and it's fucking stupid and it's irresponsible to all the people as like people that are in the big media that are putting this shit out there for so many people to consume. It's irresponsible. And the shit needs to stop. You can't get in these players' heads. You don't know.
Unless they tell you personally in a story.
Right.
Unless they confide in you and in a story. But that's the thing, man, is you kind of hit the nail on the head there is, and I know we talked about it earlier, we don't know where these guys are as human beings because we're not them. We're not part of their lives. We just do a thing. And for guys to put narratives out there, and look, I take everything I hear in the draft season with a grain of salt. It's literally all smoke screens. Some of it is, some of it isn't. But I mean, you can pretty much navigate through what's bullshit and what's not bullshit. And when people talk about guys like that are that high end of prospects not caring,
you don't become that fucking great of a prospect without not caring about your craft.
Yeah, I mean, and I know, you have guys like Jamarcus Russell that, obviously, that guy doesn't care, and there's been some guys that really truly don't care.
Yeah, those guys are the exception; they're not the rule.
Yeah, and also too, those guys were grossly overdrafted to where they probably should have. There were all I'm saying is there were red flags with guys like that at the time that the teams ignored and still took a chance on. And they weren't like bullshit narratives. Like there were red flags there. Whereas like with guys like Kayvon Thibodeau, there weren't like red flags. Like, I mean, it was very clear, like the guy, I mean, he fought back from injury to get back to play college football. And like, he very easily could have said, shit, dude, I'm going to prepare for the NFL, which, I wouldn't have followed it. That's probably what I would have advised him to do is like, look, there's no reason for you to get hurt. Like, you're about to make tons of money. Sit out and get healthy and prepare for the NFL. No, like he fought through injury to get back to play for Oregon, to finish their season out. That's like, how are you going to say a guy like that doesn't care? So, I mean,
so stupid.
So stupid. So, but it's cool to now see the narrative. I guess all he had to do was fucking cry on TV about how proud he was about the win, and then that narrative just completely disappears. So yeah,
it's a great story, man. The Giants are by far right now the biggest surprise in football. I don't think it's anything close to that.
Some of the Jets.
Yeah, the
Giants are a bigger surprise than the Jets. Even.
The New York teams, yeah.
We talked about the Jets in the offseason basically and said they at least had solid pieces on offense. We had no praise for the Giants before the season outside of Saquon Barkley, who has looked like the best running back in football. Him and Nick Chubb, you can flip a coin. Chubb had
I'm not even flipping coins anymore, man. I'm really.
He's
not.
having a great year. I mean, really a really good year.
A healthy Saquon Barkley
is just insane. Like what he's able to do.
Even as good as this offense is, man, like and as good as they've operated, whenever it's crunch time, once again this past week, who scored the game-winning touchdown for the New York Giants?
Saquon Barkley.
Look at that 6 spin move too. It was gorgeous.
Saquon Barkley is fucking built different, man, and it's been that way since college. And the only thing that's stood in his way has been injury. And the dude is
and Joe Judge.
Yeah, and Joe Judge, and Jason Garrett. But even like I even felt bad for Jason Garrett because like he was not this week, but the past week he was. I think he was either the past week or 2 weeks ago. They were talking about the Giants' offense on live TV, where Jason Garrett is now a co-host, and talking about how good Saquon Barkley is. And Jason Garrett's main year as a coach, Saquon wasn't healthy, and he was like, "Yeah, it's amazing how much better an offense looks whenever you have a guy like that healthy."
Yeah,
Jason Garrett's had more than enough opportunities to prove himself as a play caller, and he hasn't done so. So it's not like to clear him of any wrongdoing, but it's again just another point to there are so many factors that go into team success that that just kind of get ignored throughout the season that can come to light. But this Giants team is so easy to root for, man. Whenever you see Brian Daboll getting so fired up after a win on the sidelines, and you see the passion from Thibodeau, and you see Saquon Barkley battle back from injury, you see Wan'Dale Robinson already in his rookie year battle back from injury and immediately come in and make an impact. This team is so easy to root for. And it's a lot of fun, and I don't think this train's slowing down this week, without a doubt. Like Jacksonville's going in the complete opposite direction. They started the year out hot. They started the year out as maybe this is the team that's going to make the leap. Turns out they might just be the same old Jaguars. And is this where amateur fantasy football players chat? Oh.
Dang.
Because this guy is 0-6 and cooking.
Hey, Kyle, you're in this league, right?
Oh,
you got one of these, Kyle?
Well, no, I think he was asking, is this where he should come to chat, because he said he's 0-6 and cooking right now.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he was throwing shade.
I expected with Kyle, just knowing him, that we like to throw shade at each other.
we're here to throw shade too.
Yeah,
So,
which is why I was so excited to get up because it's more fun that way whenever you get to talk shit with each other. But hey, Kyle, at least your NFL team's thriving, man. Because even despite the loss to the Bills, the Chiefs look really good. And me and Kyle did play each other in the fantasy championship last year in that league where I just held up the ring, which is why I had to go grab it. It just makes it that much more fun.
Boy, my team laid an egg in sleeper this week.
yeah, I'm
They
actually
put up 112, 113 points and still lost. Like, it was rough.
He said he's never seen you move fast.
I got the. I'm like Saquon Barkley when it comes to trying to go dunk on somebody, man.
Yeah, man. I believe too in that league. I am now winless since making my initial statement of the 3 co-hosts are 3-1. Everybody else can suck it, and I haven't won a game since I've said that. So I probably should have just kept my mouth shut. Yeah, because my team is not performing well since I decided to utter that statement. But
It's it happens. It's a long season. It's a long season. I feel bad for Kyle though because like he might be 0-6 right now, but there's teams ahead of him that have scored much less points up to this point in the season and have gotten a few wins under their belt. And it's just Kyle is the perfect example of points scored versus points against just completely working in Kyle is the perfect example of having the points against just really working against him at this point in the year. And so it's just like, I feel bad for him. I really do. Because last year he came in second. He had a strong year. This year it looked like he was going to have another strong year. And the fantasy football schedule is a really, really weird thing. To where it's just like you can feel like you have a strong team all day, and then sometimes you can be the second or third or fourth highest scoring team in the league, but every week you play the first or second or third highest scoring team in the league, and it just doesn't really matter how good your team's doing.
Yeah, that's how it goes, man. Jared, are we going to because he put I got 2 words for you, suck it. It got me thinking here.
Generation X?
Yeah, I got ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Oh, Lord.
D-Generation X proudly presents to you the tag team champions of the world, the Road Dogg Jesse James, the badass Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws. And remember, Jared, what comes next?
Suck it. 2 words, suck it.
Yeah, and if you're not down with that, then we got
if you're not down with that,
2 words for you, baby. Suck it.
Over here watching the Lakers suck it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he said, by the way, Chiefs are cooking. I feel comfortable where they're at. Missing like 4 starters off defense the last week. Still held Buffalo 20.
Yeah, they were in that game.
Secondary, that Chiefs secondary was decimated with injuries, and they still were in that game. So absolutely, Chiefs fans should still be. I give Nick Wright a lot of shit, rightfully so. Nick Wright with the Fox Sports Network.
Yeah, he deserves it.
But he had one of the all-time TV moments today, or it was either today or yesterday, I'm not sure, where he was like, all right, the Bills beat the Chiefs. I've got a statement that I need to read. And he started reading off all this stuff about how, the Bills outclassed the Chiefs and yada, yada, yada. And he was like, at the end of it, he was like, oh, wait, this is the same statement from last year, and balled that shit up and just threw it away. It's like he was like, the Bills are 2-0 in the Super Bowl because their Super Bowl was beating the Chiefs in the regular season, and just went off. And that's one of the few times where I watched that and I was like, okay, like Nick is fully leaned into this, just like TV villain type thing. Like he knows
he's a heel.
He knows why he's there, but that's one of the few times I've really ever seen him like lean into it and really just, and like it was incredible TV. Like if you're watching it for educational purposes, you're doing it all wrong. But entertainment wise, it was great. And if you haven't seen the clip, you should go watch it. It was pretty entertaining.
I mean, he's not wrong either.
No, they're like that's what makes it good. Is there's still points there's still some funny points and shit like that in there. But
Well,
Yeah,
the good thing, I think what's funny about Nick Wright is most of the time he's like actually serious and then he's wrong. So it's glad for him to not take this seriously, at least for this point. So
right. The only point I have for the Jaguars is just free Travis Etienne. That's really all I got. Him and James Robinson are basically splitting carries for the last like 3 weeks now. He is just efficiency wise, he's blowing James Robinson out of the water and not getting enough touches. And I just want to see that come to an end. So, Doug Peterson, you are now on my shit list. You have replaced Arthur Smith.
yeah, and so here we go again, boys.
Trevor Lawrence has looked bad too.
You're gonna love this one. Jaguars at home. Jaguars are -3 favorites.
There's no way they're favored in this game.
Jaguars are -3 favorites in this game.
Nobody believes.
They're -162 favorites on the money line. Giants are +125 underdogs to win. 42.5 point over under.
Oh,
Okay, well, give me the Giants in this one.
Yeah, if anybody wants some free money.
yeah, that's definitely setting up for free money.
If you want to make some money though, betting against my Giants opinion this year so far has been very beneficial. So,
well, to be fair, betting for my Giants opinion has been fairly beneficial as well.
So now that I'm finally on the Giants, it's only right that the Jags come out and just put up a fucking like Hall of Fame.
This is your
game.
Travis Etienne game, right?
Yeah,
here,
like
man.
Travis Etienne's finally going to come out and show out. Doug Peterson.
3 tutties, 170 yards rushing.
No, it's going to be another 50-50 split, and the Jags are going to lose this game. But I've been against the Giants all year, and the Giants proved me wrong. So now that I'm finally bought in, it's only right that they just continue to shit on me in an opposite way. But yeah,
don't worry, guys. I'm back to save you again. Once again, I'll continue to carry the Giants. The Giants are going to win the game. Everything's going to be okay. They're a good football team. I've been trying to tell people. Jaguars are going in the opposite direction. I'm taking the Giants.
Saquon Barkley. I'll take the Giants.
All right. Then now we got one more game to go, and that is ending it with the Green Bay Packers against the Taylor Heineke-led Washington Commanders.
This should be the Thursday night football game at this point.
Sheesh. Yeah, no kidding. So, all right. Are we hitting the panic button?
No, and I'll tell you why.
I already was. So
because it can't get any worse, and the Vikings can't continue to win these close games. That's the only reason why I'm not hitting the panic button. I have no faith in the Bears whatsoever. The Vikings are squeaking out wins against teams that they should be blowing out, and at the end of the day, it's Aaron Rodgers. Like same.
That's the difference. So the Vikings are squeaking out wins, but they're still winning. The Packers are not. That's at the end of the day, you got to win the games.
Yeah, I think Green Bay. I think Green Bay's going to get better as that defense, man. I don't know how the offense. I get it. I totally understand it. If Alan Lazard is your number one, I know that's your boy Landon, but if that's your number one wide receiver, then there's problems on the offense. But that defense, there's no excuse for that defense playing as bad as what it's playing.
All I know is if the Green Bay Packers don't decide to replace their right guard after what he put on tape last week, Jesus Christ, you have got to bench that. Like there has to be somebody out there better than that. Holy shit. They've
got to make a move too and get a wide receiver.
Yeah, they need a wide receiver.
I think they had like 6 drop passes or something like that this past week.
Yeah.
It's surprising. Randall Cobb was hurt.
Aaron Jones looked terrible. AJ Dillon's looked terrible.
Aaron Jones hasn't been given.
Aaron Jones hasn't. Yeah, Aaron Jones hasn't looked too.
I feel like he's been underutilized. Like I feel like that's one of the most annoying fucking things with me is
Jones looking bad.
One of the most annoying things with me with play callers after games is like they'll get asked about the misusage of a player. Like for example, Matt LaFleur and Aaron Jones. Like what's going on with Aaron Jones? Why doesn't he get enough touches? I don't know. He needs to get more involved. Dude, you call the fucking play. Get him more involved in. Like what are we talking about?
Yeah, Robert Tonyan had 11 catches on Sunday.
Yeah, he was their most reliable pass catcher this week.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like That the defense has been bad once again. What did I tell you last week?
Well, the Jets deserve a lot of love too, man.
Well, yeah, they do. But what did I tell you last week was the key to beating the Packers? You
Have any kind of explosive offense?
No, you run the ball against them. You run the ball against Green Bay. And what did the Jets
explosive
do?
Offense. The Jets are an explosive offense right now with current state of the NFL.
They're an explosive run game. Zach Wilson.
Yeah, the Jets ran the ball against the Packers, and guess what? It worked.
Yeah, the Packers run the Packers defense against the run is piss poor.
Worse than that,
it's terrible.
Yeah, it's letting up. I mean, it's literally giving teams wins at this point because they can't stop the run. I don't know, and until they get that fixed, like if they need to replace the right, like I'm much more concerned about that stuff than I am the wide receivers. Like, which I know that's kind of like weird to say, but like I'm much more concerned with their defensive line and their offensive lines because those are areas that you can't afford. Like if you have adequate protection, Aaron Rodgers can make guys look better than what they are. If
he's already making guys look
but
they just won't catch the fucking ball.
If you give him adequate, like good protection, the wide receivers, like they'll be fine. Like, and it'll get better as the year goes on. They'll get more consistent.
So I mean, yes and no. They don't have anybody that can stretch the field. Like even if they give Rodgers time, they still don't have players that can. They
Christian Watson if he comes back, and then Randall Cobb, like they need somebody.
Randall Cobb's not stretching the field.
But, no, I'm saying like he's hurt, so they'll need somebody to replace him. Like,
but I feel like they do. Like they need, and this isn't to say Rodgers has been the problem because he hasn't. Like it's similar to with Brady and the Bucks. If you think that Aaron Rodgers,
if you think either one of those, if you think Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady is
the
issue for their teams right now, you're too far.
But
Aaron Rodgers is part of the problem because of his contract.
I don't think he's even a little bit a part of the problem. I'm a guy that loves to shit on Rodgers just because it's easy to, but he hasn't been part of the problem. But they have to. Their offense is so predictable right now because nobody can beat them downfield. They have to go get somebody that can win downfield. Because Rodgers will get it to
threat to me, like just the threat of that.
Like they're right now, assuming they don't make any moves, they're literally just hoping that Sammy Watkins comes back and does something.
We were laughing about Robbie Anderson signing with Arizona, but I mean, this Green Bay Packers team went out and got Sammy Watkins in the offseason, and that's supposed to fix their offense.
They might have been able to use Robbie Anderson.
Right. I would rather have Robbie Anderson than 3/4 of the Green Bay wide receivers that is currently on that roster. Like, it's that bad. Outside of Lazard, and Dobbs shows signs here and there, but I don't think he's really – I mean, he's a rookie, but, I mean, he's not going to – no one's scared of him. There's nothing to be scared of on this offense whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily for them, they get to play the Washington Commanders without Carson Wentz, who –
that might be a good thing.
I've seen enough Tyler Heineke to know that it might not necessarily be any.
I wish they need to start Sam Howell out there. They need to see what they have in Sam.
Yeah,
Howell.
Like I'm not even a huge Sam Howell guy, but like at this point, it's like what similar to what I've been talking about with Mariota and guys like that. Like, what are you learning about your team?
Well, like with Mariota and them, like they're still winning games, and he's still like performing at it. Like I don't think you need to tank it right now. Now, if Mariota,
but you know what
Mariota gets hurt, then yeah.
No, I'm just saying like what Mariota is.
Right.
Maybe the corpse of Terry McLaurin's back.
You know what Taylor Heineke is.
Like, Terry McLaurin season. Let's go, Tyler Heineke.
Well, I feel like Wentz is better fit to, like, I know it hasn't happened, but I feel like his skill set is better fit to hit McLaurin than
it doesn't happen.
Well,
Taylor Heineke
that's highly true.
Taylor Heineke eats up the middle of the field, which isn't really where McLaurin thrives.
Well, I mean, like the only thing that Carson Wentz has that's good for Terry McLaurin is a big arm. Outside of that, like
he's
not going to read the defense. He's not going to target him. Like,
Heineke isn't
he's
great.
not, and whenever he does target him, it's not going to be an accurate throw. Like
I know. You see how many like comebackers Terry McLaurin made last year off Tyler Heineke?
underthrown
Over 25 yards. It was so many like having to go back to the ball. Like he doesn't have an arm on him, especially like Carson Wentz.
Well, to be fair, that's good wide receiver play because you should always come back to the ball.
I mean, I'm totally like he came back like way back to make some of those catches.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I want to point out that like if you're looking at Wild, like that's good. Like you should go get like. I hate
no. Yes, I know what you're saying too.
I hate it when
I'm talking about like the ball being completely underthrown.
That's a Carson Wentz special too, man. Underthrown pass interferences, like that's a Wentz dot right there.
But again, this whole conversation is just another point in the favor of why not start Sam Howell?
Yeah, they need to see what they have in Sam
You've seen enough.
This is the perfect.
We know what Taylor Heineke is. There's no positive to throwing him out there, especially with.
I think we know what Carson Wentz is at this point too.
Yeah, like, I agree. The Commanders have won one game this year, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Week 1.
Yeah,
why not?
Week 1 win against the Jags. They're still living off that. Like, put Sam Howell out there and see what you got. It might not be much. It might not end up being the answer, but at least you know. Yeah. And I don't see any positives for starting Taylor Heineke. Like, when you're going to go into that game like, man, Sam Howell is, reportedly he's going to be going into the game with the backup. Like, man, that Sam Howell guy, he can really fucking hold a clipboard. Like that guy holds a clipboard like no other. Like what the fuck are we doing?
You got Ron Rivera.
There it is.
Okay, this feels like I feel like we need to insert the
phrase of the year.
The phrase back in there at this point. It's been a couple weeks since I've used it, but it feels necessary here.
I used it earlier today, or was it yesterday? Did I use it today or yesterday when I texted you?
Yeah, it was yesterday, but yeah, you did. But it's just like I was kind of baffled whenever I saw the news. I don't really get it.
Antonio Gibson probably needs more touches. Back on that.
That would be smart. One of your best weapons on offense to get him the ball would be ideal.
Saying that for what is this 3 years now? We've said that.
Yeah, however long it's been since he got drafted.
He's in the doghouse or something, man. There's something up.
He had to he had to have fucked Ron Rivera's wife or something. Is Ron married?
I believe
that's all I can think of is that he's just
lost her on a blackjack bet.
He's porking Ron's wife or something, because I mean it's clear as day to me watching the games that he's the most talented back in that field in that backfield.
Yeah,
and they're just not. They're doing everything they can not to get him involved.
They're playing a guy who got shot now, opposed to
the guy got shot and still came back faster than Keenan Allen.
Damn,
Jesus.
Hamstrings ain't no joke, bro.
The hamstrings ain't no joke. Apparently, you're better off getting shot than you are
getting a hamstring. Look, bro, if you're 30 years old and you get a hamstring injury, it's a wrap. I can promise you.
Take me out to the field and shoot me.
Wrap. All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and get to the lines of this game here. Let me get it pulled up. I don't know how excited I am for this one, but I will
not be prioritizing this game.
Yeah, probably not. So right now, Commanders aren't home, but Packers are minus 5.5 point favorites. On the point spread, money line is Packers minus 227 at the moment. Commanders are plus 175 underdogs to win the game, and it's a 41.5 point over under.
Might be too kind.
Yeah, might be too kind, but I can pretty much tell you, this is to me this is where Drew was last week. If the Green Bay Packers find a way to win this game, bro. Yeah, like I'm all the way checked out, and they were my Super Bowl pick this year. Not looking too great out of the NFC, but
there's no way they lose this game, right? Like no way,
bro. We've seen it? We've seen it for 6 weeks now, dude. Like it's.
I know, but
There's no way, right?
The win-win
Can't
loss for
lose
the
this game.
Commanders with their backup quarterback, there's no way. And as bad as the Commanders' defense has been, and you got Aaron Rodgers, you got the back-to-back MVP on the other side of the ball. There's no way.
Yeesh. Yeah, that's tough.
There's no
This
way.
you're picking the Packers, right?
Yeah, spoiler alert. I'm going to take the Packers.
All right. Big Jared?
I will also take the Packers with Robert Tonyan having 47 targets in this game.
He very well could.
As long as they get the W, that's all.
And winds up tight end 8 on the week.
Taysom Hill ran for 4 touchdowns. No receptions.
The fantasy cruncher.
Single pass. So, all right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of our live stream. If you have joined us, I know we've got a few listeners here that have joined us for a majority of it. So I want to give a shout out to you. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to our boy Julian who checked in with us. Shout out to Kyle for coming in, giving us a little fun, preview, giving me a chance to quote some Road Dogg. I'm always down for that. That's my guy. So thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning, if you are not subscribed already, would you please subscribe? Hit the like, button on the video. Maybe share it with your friends on Twitter. If you're, listening on Twitter, go ahead and give us a retweet. Give us a follow at 3Man Rush Podcast, and all of our Twitter handles are in our names right here if you're watching it. And so just give us a check out. Thank you guys so much. We'll actually be back tomorrow night as well to finish the next 7 games. We're going to kick it off. I know for all the Colts Nation, you're interested to hear. I know y'all always show out. So we're going to kick it off right away with Colts Titans to start last night. So make sure you are ready to go. 9:30.
Did you see where the Titans are getting a new stadium?
Yeah, it's about damn time. I was making fun of it.
Time.
Yeah, imagine that. I know Drew said he's like, well, they're guaranteed to at least get a Super Bowl. If they got a new stadium, I was like, yeah, they'll host it. They're not gonna play in it.
Oh yeah, no, not going that far.
yeah. They'll host the Super Bowl, and I don't want them to be delusional and think that they're actually going to be playing in the game. So
that's very true.
Yeah. But we're gonna kick it off with Colts Titans tomorrow night. We are going to be going live 9:30 Central. That's 10:30 Eastern. So if you are in Indiana, if you're in Indianapolis, I know you're on Eastern time. A little bit late, but it's going to be the first preview we do. So make sure to tune in. It'll be over pretty quickly because you already know what's going to happen. You know. So we'll point to some stuff, and then we want to thank you guys so much for the support, and we will see you tomorrow night.